Hey, welcome everyone. I'm going to welcome our people on Zoom as well. Hello, thank you so much for joining us. And again, my name is Jody Solberg. I'm the president of NGHWA, and I have the distinct pleasure to introduce Mary Lee LaBay today. How many of you have learned from Mary Lee here in this room? Quite a few of us, yes. Mary Lee has been one of my teachers and mentors as well. And Mary Lee has over 35 years of experience in hypnosis and holistic and spiritual development. She's been a certified instructor for over 25 years, offering credentials in hypnotherapy, past life regression, and holistic and shamanic techniques for deep and sustained wellness. Mary Lee previously served on the board of NGHWA, has a PhD in behavioral psychology, and is the author of 6 books on hypnosis, past life regression, and self improvement. She's also currently offering trainings online for passionate coaches and healers to incorporate her signature techniques, one of which she's going to be sharing with us today, in order to deepen their clients' experiences. So please help me welcome Mary Lee LaBay.
Thank you. Do I need to stand here or can I sit? Or
I'm
I
okay
can
with
stand.
you standing or sitting, as long as you can see you in that little screen, you're good.
Looks like they can see me better if I'm down here.
Sure.
So, is that okay for all of you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you. Well, thank you.
Yeah, have to do it.
Yeah. There. So thank you for having me here today. Of course, it's a distinct pleasure, and especially because of all these familiar faces and some new ones. So my pleasure to be here. So I'm going to be speaking about reverse metaphor today. It was a technique that I developed early on in my career because in my own training, I had 300 hours. My original training was 300 hours of clinical hypnotherapy. So we had to, well, it was a long story. We had biology, psychology, anatomy. It was pretty in depth in a lot of the sciences to get the clinical designation. But in the hypnotic or the hypnotherapy part of that course, we were trained to read scripts. And so a lot of you have probably had that training where you talk with your potential client and they tell you all these things that they want to work on. And then you go and you thumb through tomes of books looking for scripts, or you creatively write one, which takes hours out of your day potentially before you even start working with your client. What I was finding when I first launched into actually doing hypnotherapy as a profession, those were the tools that I had. And so I was very nervous about, am I picking the right script? Is this going to work? Am I going to get the right depth to get them to accept the suggestions? All the things that maybe some of you have faced with this protocol or with that method of delivering hypnotherapy. And then, you put your client in trance, you hope and pray they're deep enough, you read your script, and then you bring them out. They may or may not remember anything, and then you just kind of hope and pray that something changes, And so maybe in a month they'll call you and let you know, or you never hear from them again. So for me, it felt disingenuous. For me, it just didn't feel like I was serving the people correctly. And what I was noticing in their conversation with me is that there were so many signals of them already knowing what it was they needed to do. Now, in my education, I also had NLP, so I had a lot of those other tools where you could get feedback. And in that feedback, in the trance state, I was noticing how much wisdom was coming out of their subconscious mind. And so reverse metaphor was, what I developed out of that in order to just eliminate the scripts altogether and go directly to the wisdom of their subconscious mind. And it is an amazing tool. So those of you who have been trained in it know that That's true. So I'm just interested, what are the challenges that you have? Like some of you are nodding, yes, I do scripts. What are the challenges that you have in your, in seeing clients in in your role in that, not the challenges that they have, but what challenges do you face? Or none? Oh, Faith?
Like you, I was trained to use scripts, and so that's how I started. And in the beginning, that was during 2020, so it was all on Zoom. It was easier just to say, I'm going to turn my camera off so that I get better bandwidth for the recording.
Uh-huh.
And you're
Thumbing through the
But I
pages.
would usually have like 2 or 3 scripts and circle things and jump back and forth. And then I didn't think I had the confidence to do it on my own until I was in the field with Dr. Dan Nightingale working with a dementia patient. And he just said, okay, you do the hypnosis part. No scripts. I was in Arizona and honey's been with me. And he did one, and then I just kind of followed that and learned how easy it is just to adapt
Mm-hmm.
to the feedback you're getting and not
Exactly.
have that tension that I had when I was actually reading a script. So it's just it's been very successful.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, the tension of the reading, and even in the beginning of my courses, when I'm training people, they have to read a little bit of the script to get the protocol, to get the structure of the different techniques. And that first day where I say, okay, get in pairs and do this, there's a lot of fear. But what also the feedback is that the person that they're working on, the one serving as client, says, yeah, it was a little clunky. I could tell they were reading, the voice, the intonation just isn't as natural as you would have if you were in a regular conversation, right? Or a dialogue. Other things that people come up with when they're working with their clients is that they're not sure where to start the session, right? They're like, okay, I can put them into trance, but exactly what am I going to do with this client? Even if you've trained like me with it, where it's client-centered, no scripts, and I have that too. The client has told me all sorts of topics they want to work on, and I'm just going through like on these sci-fi movies where you have all the data coming down through your eyes, and you're just going, oh, which technique am I going to use? Where am I going to start, right? So reverse metaphor would be really good for that. It would also be good when you're seeking to discover the most important issue to address. So maybe they say, well, I want to lose weight. I'm having trouble with my spouse. My kids are a mess and I have anxiety and I can't sleep, right? It's like, okay, where are we going to start? You can start with reverse metaphor, and then the important issues will rise to the surface. When you're feeling less than resourceful, and choosing the best tool. So that kind of covers in with that as well. When your client needs to warm up their imagination and enter into the creative right hemisphere of their brain. So when you are doing, and even after all these years, I'll have clients who just cannot get over there into the right side of the brain. They're so analytical and so hypervigilant that we can't get them to really access that more creative side. We can do the reverse metaphor to kind of jumpstart that, right? When searching for the source of a chronic illness, pain, and so forth, when a client isn't comfortable revealing an issue with direct language. So, if we're going to be in a dialogue in the session, maybe there's a young woman who isn't comfortable saying, I've been abused, or I was date raped, or, or some other kind of shameful experience. They can go through, and I've had this happen where we went through what her issue was. She had not revealed to me that she had had this sexual assault. We went through the whole thing as a reverse metaphor. And at the end of that, I think something clicked in her mind that she had already talked to me about it. Even though it was all in some kind of fantasy story, to her, it had been revealed. I could guess, but we had never really talked about it. But right after that, our conversation, she said, I've never shared this with anybody, And then she was fully ready to share that with me, with that idea that, well, it's already out of the bag, right? But the reverse metaphor allowed her to speak about it more comfortably. I used to do, when I was seeing clients in person, I used to do 2-hour sessions. They're all about an hour to an hour and 15 now. But with 2 hours, we would be covering all this ground, and sometimes we would use the full 2 hours, but sometimes there'd be an extra 10 or 15 minutes. And it's like, I don't want to just, stop the session when they still have time I owe them, but I don't want to open a new can of worms and get started on another issue. And so we can do a 10-minute reverse metaphor and just receive even a light and gentle positive message from their own subconscious mind. Also, if you're doing past life regression, I know a lot of you do, have you ever had trouble getting them to go there and to switch over from a memory in this lifetime, or even just it's a blank space, I'm not seeing anything, and they're feeling really stuck? You can start with the reverse metaphor and have them just tell you a story, but that story ends up leading them right into the past life. It's really quite amazing. Just as an example, I had a client who was a man. We know how that goes. No. And he was an engineer. Yes. And he was really hypervigilant. It was his first session. He wanted a past life, and we struggled, and he just couldn't get over there to where he could just, go into those other visions. And so I said, okay, let's just not worry about the past life. Why don't you just tell me, is there a time in history that you think that you had a lifetime? And he said, yeah, I always thought that I lived in the Wild West and I was a cowboy, right? Yeah. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what, just relax, close your eyes, and tell me a story. Just begin a story about being a cowboy in the West, right? Well, I'm riding across the plains and, I'm out there and I come across this wagon that has been turned upside down. There's skeletons, there's boxes of things, and everything is scattered, right? And I said, okay. And he goes, I get off the horse and I'm, checking this thing out. And he said, and then at some point in this, close on, he's, right now we're just in this fantasy reverse metaphor, right? And he said, oh, that's interesting. I have white man pants on. And I said, what do you mean by white man pants? Because so far he's been a cowboy, right? And I would assume that is a white man, right? And so he goes, no, I've got white man pants on. And then he's like looking at his arm and he said, I'm an Indian. And he was totally shocked. But that's one of the clues that we have, that now he has actually gone into a memory and he's not just making up the story, because he would have made up the story about being a cowboy, right? And so then we, finished that lifetime with, with his memories of that past life. So using the reverse metaphor for that. And then what's really clever, I think, about the reverse metaphor is you can help your clients become their own psychic. So you can have them tell a story about what's going to happen in the future. Or let's say that I want to start a business and, what's going to happen? What should I be aware of? What pitfalls or successes, or what do I need to know? And you can allow the subconscious mind then to share its view of the future of the timeline that you're on. Now, with this, you can also, if you don't like the timeline you're on, you can also go back and retell the story, asking the subconscious mind to, this one ends in financial failure. I'd like to ask the subconscious mind to take us on this same journey, but show us the crossroads or the fork in the road. What can the client do differently to have a more optimal turnout or result? And then that story will come out. And then in the interpretation, you can find out what changes that they made or what choices. Let me just do this. What choices or what changes that would allow here you can have that chair. That would allow the client to have a successful outcome.
Kelly, are you using future pacing?
Not at this point. This is all reverse metaphor. So once you have that, then you could do something like role model so that they step into that version of them that will make the proper choice, and then future pace them again.
We're just doing a story right now.
We're just doing the reverse metaphor. Yeah, so you can get any kind of message from the subconscious mind. So about the future, about the present, about the past, and on any topic. So, if you want to understand the root of a pain or a relationship issue or, whatever it is that you're looking at, a block, something personal that they're going through. Okay, so those are the ways or the reasons why we could use it, but we can also use it as an induction. So you could just start out with a reverse metaphor. I wouldn't do this with a brand new client particularly because they want the bells and whistles of an induction. They want to know that they're in trance. But if the person is really struggling, like I said, if they're hypervigilant, hyper analytical, close your eyes. I'd like you to just tell me a story, right? And so that helps them get into it. And then you can just go from there with your other techniques and wherever you need to go. But it could be used as an induction, a deepening, or any kind of means to enhance the imagination.
What do you do if they don't have a story?
Wow, I have clients like that. I can't tell a story. I don't know how to tell a story. And so then I'll say, well, I'll just help them begin it. So I would like for you to imagine that you're outside and you're walking along a path. And I want you to just imagine, looking down and describe to me what the path looks like. And I actually almost always start that way anyway, because every detail of the story has meaning. And so when I'm taking notes, I'm writing down, a narrow path, dirt road, I'm describing everything. On the right are trees. On the left is a lake. It's going uphill. Now it's going downhill. It's turning to the right. All of that has symbolic meaning. So when you go back later and do the translation, you're going to be asking them about all those details. So you can imagine symbolically the difference between, imagine that you're walking out in nature and look down, what does the path look like? There's no path at all. I'm just walking, I'm kind of making my own way. I'm walking over some moss and now there's rocks and I'm stepping over some twigs and now a branch, right? As opposed to somebody who says, I'm on this really broad sidewalk and it's all cement. You could walk 3 or 4 people abreast. That's a whole different thing, right? And so when you're interpreting it, the first one is probably somebody who is like inventing their own pathway forward. They're going to be creative. This is not a well-worn path. Where the next one is something that's very established. Maybe they're buying a business in a box, right? It's already laid out for you. You just have to move along it, right? So there's every little piece of it is going to have meaning in the end for you. So the rules around it, the way that you'll be able to have the best experience or the most valuable experience for your client in using the reverse metaphor is if you allow them to create the story. So in the way that I teach hypnotherapy in all areas, not just reverse metaphor, is all of the imagery comes from the client, right? Even if you're saying, go to your safe space, you're not describing, oh, you're in this pleasant room that's pink and it's got, puffy pillows everywhere for you. You're not describing it. You're allowing them to determine where that safe space is and what it looks like. Everything we do in our session. But in the reverse metaphor in particular, obviously this is their story. Now it's okay to get them started. If I start it by saying, okay, imagine you're a cowboy, tell me the story. Or if I say, imagine you're on a path, describe it. Then after that, that's just to launch them. So after that, we're going to allow them to come up with everything. So that path might immediately lead into a coliseum or a room or a house or something, or it might lead into the wilderness and it's a dark, deep, scary forest. So, it's whatever they're going to tell us. We have to use non-leading language, right? So this technique is the easiest thing you'll ever do. Right? Jody's like, yep. Once you get them launched, okay, the path is just this narrow little dirt path. Your job is, what happens next? What do you notice? Then what? Then what happens? And what happens next? And then what? And what do you notice next? I mean, that's what you're going to do for 30 minutes, right? As you sip your coffee and, and then what, but you are taking notes, right? It's like, sometimes at the end you just go, I can't believe people pay me to do this, right? But it's so, so valuable. So it's non-leading language. So some of the pitfalls or the things that we have to look for is that they start analyzing. If they start saying, oh, I bet, that's a message my mother told me one time, or they say, oh, I think this means, something about my job, whatever it is, that if they start analyzing, we need to shut that down right away. So what I do is I'll just tell them, we're going to analyze the entire story at the end. Because a lot of times as a client is going into this, they don't know what you're going to do later, right? They don't know that we're going to discuss this or analyze it or integrate it later. And, I've had clients where they think that they need to analyze every step as they go. And the problem with that is we've got them in their right brain imagination and they're just telling this fantasy story. And then if they switch over here and they say, oh, that rock is the block that I feel all the time, and oh, this is that, then they're taking themselves out of that right brain imagination. And they're going to slow the process and maybe even alter the richness of what the subconscious mind could do. So, we just need to explain to them, we're going to analyze this together at the end, and I really need you to stay over in your right brain imagination. I need you to just stay with the story. I'm taking notes, and we'll come back and we'll look at what these things mean later. Okay. Obviously, you can use whatever nice words you come up with in the moment, but that's the idea. And then also we need to guide them away from recalling memory. So a lot of times when we start, oh, you see yourself on a path, describe it to me. And then, in another minute they go, oh, it leads out to the tire swing we used to have in the backyard. And I see myself and I'm 3 years old. It's like, that's not where we were going to go here. Now, that memory may have something to do with the issue at hand, right? Because most everything that comes up is probably going to relate, but that's not going to help us in this particular technique. So, again, so many of the things that we do are intuitive in the moment. So in some cases, I just guide them away and say, okay, we're not looking for a memory. I really need you to make up a fantasy story. Or I might say, well, is there anything about that incident when you were 3 that relates to the topic that we're talking about? And then we talk about that, we let it go, and we get back to the story again, right? So it's up to you, if you, which way you go with that. If you have time to have this little side note happen, or if you just need to get the story done, or if you think that there might be some correlation, which, highly likely there is a correlation. And maybe it just takes you in a different direction and you end up not doing the reverse metaphor. Sometimes the session gets hijacked and we just have to go with wherever they're taking us, right? But it's also very valuable to get them back into the story. So, you want to take detailed notes. I used to write my notes, and so I would write them, pretty much everything that the person is saying, maybe not the ands, buts, ifs, and, the, and all of that, but the main things: blue sky, dirt path, narrow, just all of the details. And then when we do the interpretation, I would write in between the lines. Well, now I do all my sessions over Zoom, and I'm typing my notes while they're talking, like this, right? And so it's harder to go back and write. So one way, if you're typing, do you type your notes or do you write your notes? You're writing?
I write.
Okay, so just leave a line in between so you can go back and interpret, or use a different colored pen or something like that. What I do now is I just, dirt path, small house, wicked witch, whatever, dark forest, and I just do them in a row like that. Then I can go back and put dash, this is what it means, dash, this is what it means.
I also used Otter AI for a while. So
Yeah.
that will type along, but it doesn't always get the words right.
I
You
know.
can go back into it because
Yeah.
you're so present at the
I've tried. I tried Fathom also,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, now I have to go back before I forget, and I have to go back and redo it. For me, I'm just a fast typer, and I can type while they're talking. It's just like that.
And
So
you're able to be fully present with them while you do that. That's good.
I got like a split personality. So
Okay.
one of me is over here, one of me is over here. No, it's I don't know. It's pretty easy. Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
It's just whatever you're saying. I'm just doing that.
They're
So.
talking usually with pauses and they're thinking, so you have plenty of time to
Right.
get everything
They're kind
down
of slow. Right. Exactly. Yeah, I don't have a problem. Yeah, typing along with it. Just like I didn't have a problem writing along with
You
it.
do it in a separate document.
I do it. Okay. Well, if we're going to talk about those things, then.
Well, it's
What-
not necessary.
Well, yeah, but I do. I have I'm on a Mac, so they're called Page, but you might say a doc. And so at the top, it's filed under their last name and then the date, and then they have their session. So every client, every session for a client is on a separate doc, right? And then they're filed in my computer, alphabetical. So all my clients are there alphabetical by their last name, and then their first name, or usually first initial, and then the date. So I can see how many sessions they've had, the dates of them, which is the last one. Yeah. It's nice because I'm no longer gathering file cabinets worth of files that later have to be shredded, right? So that's not going to happen anymore, which is nice.
And if you have to turn those notes over to Social Security, for example, because they're applying.
Social Security, you mean like
My
social
clients,
services?
No,
Or-
they're applying for Social Security benefits and it's under a mental health disability. So I have to submit my notes when they have depression, anxiety, or whatever.
Oh,
Should I fill it in with them, or can you send them
I
a
guess.
PDF or something?
I don't know, because that's never happened to me. I don't know if they would ask that about a hypnotherapist. You're having that because of you're a psychologist, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's probably a different hat.
And I've had to do like case summaries and things like that for court for like custody and kids abuse cases and things like that. So yeah, you could totally cut those out if you needed to. They don't usually ask me for actual detailed notes though. It's usually more of a case summary report. So that's usually not something I have to turn over. But yeah, it's so much easier if you type your notes.
On
I'm
the
such a
wrist.
writer.
Oh,
yeah.
I used to have such pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remarkable tablet.
Oh, smart.
Convert it to text.
Oh, nice.
I have that on my iPad with like a pencil. Yeah.
Between books and all that.
Yeah.
So it was an investment, but it's really convenient. It actually feels like it's writing naturally on paper.
Yeah,
You're
that
still
helps me
writing
retain.
though.
But you're still writing
Yeah.
if you're like a carpal tunnel issue. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
I
still
mean, I
writing.
used to have pain all the way to
Yeah.
here with
I
the
remember you had
muscle.
surgery, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or something? Yeah.
On this thumb.
I have one other question. So because I'm a medical support clinical hypnotherapist as well, everything I do is HIPAA compliant.
Mhm.
So do you designate your files in that way that they remain secure, or do you?
Well, they're under lock, under a keyword or password.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't do HIPAA.
Yeah.
So, but we still have to have the confidentiality of the
Yeah.
files.
I just do my Zoom's a HIPAA account, and
Okay.
my docs are HIPAA
Mhm.
as well.
As
So.
just a hypnotherapist with the hypnotherapist registration, we're not required to just do that.
Yeah, but when you have a medical
privacy.
designation.
But if you have other, this is helpful for Amanda too, because she's gonna, looking at doing both with her family therapy, and so she and I talked a little bit about that. Yeah, there's gonna be different stipulations for each license, it's just depending.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. What Mac program do you use?
I use Pages. Yeah.
I have a Mac, but I'm evolving understanding.
Oh, you'll love your Mac. Yeah. Call me if you have questions. Although you can call Apple and probably get better answers. Okay, so then you want to complete this story, right? So when you start it, you want to go, and usually you can tell when the story ends. Sometimes you have to ask, but they'll tell the story. And because you know what the topic is, you're probably already making some assumptions as to what all these symbols and images are meaning, and you'll kind of know when you get to the end. And then sometimes they just say, well, there's nothing left in the story, and they tell you. Sometimes I have to ask, is there anything else in the story to share? And another kind of clever thing that maybe you've already worked with, but you can tell their subconscious mind if you have a time limit, right? So maybe the story is going on and on, or you've come a little bit close to the end of your session time. And what I do is I say, now I'd like to ask your subconscious mind to take us to the most important part of this story that we need to understand within the next 5 minutes, and just give them a timeline, and it'll do it, right? So in 5 minutes, you got the end of the story. Or you can even do it at the beginning if you think, maybe you have 30 minutes and you want to do reverse metaphor. You might even tell the subconscious mind, I'd like for you to give us a story, a metaphor that will help us to understand this issue and its resolution within the next 15 minutes. And so if you were to tell a story, any story, it doesn't matter where it begins or where it ends or what happens in between. We'll just discover it as we move through it. And where would your story begin? And then they say, oh, I'm in a room and I'm looking out a window. Oh, what do you see, right? And then you just go into it. But when you put that time limit, the subconscious mind will do it. I've even done it where I just silently tell their subconscious mind, you too, Margarita. It's just like, we got to do this in 10 minutes, right? And 10 minutes, it's done. Yeah, it's really great.
I was thinking about that because I have some clients that are really, really shy.
Yes.
And I can see where this could happen.
Yeah, I give my clients time limits. Well, and something like if you were doing core transformation or secondary gains, parts therapy, I don't use it as much there, but maybe particularly core transformation, where you're asking them a question and you really need a word or two, right? You just need an answer, and then they tell you a story. So I just tell my clients, in a word or two, and then I give them the question, in a word or two, what would you say is more important, or something like that. And you can see that the really chatty clients you can just feel their brain going, and crunching it down. And then they're coming up with 2 words, right? Right, Jan? Jan's my chatty friend, right? So yeah, I mean, you can just feel the brain clicking and driving it down to 2 words, because really, we need to get through this protocol in 10 minutes, and you're taking 5 minutes for the first answer, and we've got 20 to go, right? We're not going to make it. Anyway, so you want the client to come to the completion of the story. Then at the end of that, you've got your notes all written out. And so then, you're saying, okay, is there anything else in your story? No, that's it. And then you say, okay, well, at the beginning of this story, you said, you described being in a room with a window and you were looking out the window. Can you tell me, is there anything in your life that feels like that? Or how does this correlate to what is happening in your life now? Right. And then you go right down your whole list. So you're going to do that with every single thing. I mean, if you really had time, you'd say, well, what does it mean that the sky was blue? Right? What does it mean that you walked into a dark forest? What do the trees mean? What is that forest to you? How does that forest feel similar to something that's going on in your life now? Oh, it's ominous. It feels like this wave of negativity that I have to deal with, or whatever. So you're going to go down every line item and get that. Now, I'll tell you, that's in an ideal situation, but if you really are running out of time, I tend to then clump a few things together. You were in the room looking out the window and you noticed a parade going by. Can you tell me, so those would be 3 things, but now you just need them to give you the answer about more of a gestalt piece of that, and you kind of clump them down. But just making sure that you're getting the main idea.
Good question.
Yeah.
So if we start with reverse metaphor, blah, 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 and then the client went into the past life, and he is already far away telling the situation, and we understood that, okay, we are working in the past life. Should we, at the end of the past life, when we did everything, come back and analyze the metaphors?
If there's metaphors within the past life, you could do that. Oh. So if you're going into a reverse metaphor and they end up in a past life, but is it like in my example where you want them to go into a past life and you're using the reverse metaphor to start? Usually the first part of it isn't really that.
Just use like induction.
I would just be focused on the past life. I mean, you can see, like my example, that client probably did have a lifetime as a cowboy also, but the one that he needed to see was the one as a Native American.
So you might go back and ask him why there's like
I didn't.
bones everywhere.
Well, that was part of the past life. The bones. Yeah.
You saw that past life.
Right. He thought he was a cowboy riding, but by the time he got to the wagon and jumped off, he realized he had gone through the boxes and put on white man's pants. And then we're just on the past life because that was our purpose. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we translate the story, and then at the end, I like to summarize it. So, we've gone through line items and we're at the end, and then I'll ask, okay, what have you learned from all of this? What are you going to decide, right? If it's, well, that's, yeah, okay, a thought for later. How are you going to be different now that you have this information? How will you act differently? Just we need to use this and integrate it in a way that's practical for them in their lives. Maybe they'll say, well, now I understand that I need to make these changes in my business, or, whatever that is. So you'll discuss that like you would most any other technique that you would be using to integrate that. But along the way, you might be seeing other issues that you need to work on. Okay, yeah, there was this block, right? There was a big tree trunk across the path and they got stuck, right? So another way that you can use this tool, like I said, you can see the fork in the road. So an example, I had a client who was walking along in the metaphor, and he came to a river, and it was all about his business. But anyway, he came to a river, and he looked up and he looked down. There was no bridge, and across he could see this civilization, this community where he needed to get to, right? That was where success was. But he's at this river, and he goes, well, I'm just going to sit down here and just watch the river. Okay? All right. So let's ask your subconscious mind to give us another story about what you could do differently that would allow you to achieve your goal. So now he comes to the same river, and he looks up and he looks down and he decides to go left. And when he goes left, he comes to another smallish community who had already built a bridge. And so he could go there and he could go across the bridge, and he got to his goal. And so at the end, you say, okay, what have you learned, right? Instead of giving up, which is my MO, I've come to the river, there's a big obstacle, I can't get across, so I guess I'll just sit here, right? Now I realize I need to go to where there are, partnerships or community or something who have already figured out how to get across there, and they can help me across, and then I can achieve it. So now I need to go and I need to make some, alliances, and I need to find out where that community is. So that's what we're looking for, is finding where is the success path, and then how does that translate into what are you going to do now? And so then the other part of it is that usually at the end, and now with Zoom, I love it because people don't have to get in their car and get in traffic and run a few errands on the way home and go pick up the kids and whatever. They can just chill. I try to tell my clients, give yourself 30 minutes after the session. So if we're from 1 to 2, don't schedule anything till 2:30, because then you can have a cup of tea, you can meditate, you can journal, right? So on this technique, what I tell my clients is, now at the end of the session, go journal everything you can remember about that story. And I usually do that with past lives too. Just journal everything, but do it in a very calm, meditative state, because as you're journaling, even more details will come up. Even more will be revealed to you. And so just journal all of that. And then, if you come to any part of that you can't quite remember, which really doesn't happen, but you can always contact me, because I have good notes. I can remind you what happened at that juncture or whatever. And, then you'll have all of that. And then, maybe you'll glean even more wisdom than we were able to get out of it this time.
I use at the end of my session, and then the next days, weeks, and months ahead, your subconscious mind will continue to bring you information, and if you journal, even more will be revealed. And you taught us that in your
Yeah, I didn't have the journal part in there though, but that's a clever little addition. Yeah.
For the analyticals, having that homework is satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, many years ago, it's still right there.
How much time do I have? I don't even know what.
You're good. You have time. It's only 11:17.
And what time do I go till?
You can honestly. We have the room for a while, so I usually plan
Skip
on,
lunch. We'll just stay
right?
here, right?
Just want
So
those chips. So.
yeah, right.
Oh.
So, over here. So usually like 11:30, and then you can take any more questions, or you can take questions now. It's completely up to you.
Okay. Well, so what I was going to offer is, would you like to get in pairs and try it, or would you like to see me do a demo? Either one. Option B. You always want to see me do the work, right?
We have time for a demo.
You have time for a demo? Okay. Well. Aw, thank you. Okay. All right. You'll see me in action then. Okay, does somebody have something they would like to figure out? Because if we have a demo, we need a victim, right? Nobody? Well, okay, I'll turn it over to you. Oh, Anna. Okay, come on up here, Anna.
She's like opportunity to do
Can
that.
I borrow this?
Yes.
Thank you.
Here, I can use this if you need, or and let me grab another chair.
Oh, she can have my
Oh,
chair.
she can have that one. Okay.
Come here, Anna.
She can sit.
Come right over here next to me.
Could we potentially process on our own simultaneously?
If you want.
I think I'd like to go in while you're doing that, multitask.
Let's see if we can. There. All right. Okay. What are we going to work on?
So it's always difficult for me to talk about myself, as you all know. the worst part, okay, tell me about yourself. Damn, can I just tell you what I know? Let's skip me and go straight to knowledge. So I would like to explore, because I think it's important to be able to confidently and easily tell people who I am.
Okay.
But that's my.
Okay.
Why is it so difficult?
Okay. Well, let's use that. Let's see what happens. Okay. I'm gonna come over here.
Okay.
There. Oh, you sit right here, cozy. Okay. Okay. And you go into trance really easy.
I go into
don't
trance
you? Yes,
very easy.
of
I'm
course.
always in trance.
I know everybody's going to be out.
Right.
Okay, so just go ahead and take a nice deep breath. Just relax your body, clear your mind. And I would like to ask your subconscious mind to create a story, a metaphor that will help us to understand why you don't like to talk about yourself and how to resolve that. And we don't need to know where the story begins or ends or what happens in between, simply allowing the story to unfold like we're watching a brand new movie. And so if you were to begin a story, where would you begin?
I like walking down the path.
Okay, so you're walking on a path, and can you describe to me what the path looks like if you just look down towards your feet?
It's the ground, and there are rocks, there are branches. It's a nice path.
Okay, and are you there alone or with others?
I'm alone.
Okay, and so what happens next? What do you notice?
I just walk, and there are big trees. Very nice place. I enjoy being there.
Okay, and is this path going upward, downwards, flat across?
It's flat, but it's kind of winding around. It's not a straight path. It's going like this.
Okay, so a little time passes, and what happens next?
So I'm in the clearing, and again I'm all alone and feel so good to be alone in the forest. There are animals, and I understand them. They understand me, and I can just talk to deer and bears and just feeling so good with them.
And then what do you notice?
And I'm still on the clearing and I feel I'm stuck there. I want to be there and be in this place where I can just talk to animals. It's nice.
Okay. And does anything else happen in your story?
So imagine a village. I am now in a village and I am kind of pretend that I'm like everybody else. I try to dress like everybody else, but I feel that anytime my true nature may be known, and there is this fear that if they discover who I am, they will turn on me. So I pretend to be like everybody else, talk like them, behave like this. There is this fear. They may discover who I am.
Mm-hmm. And then what happens?
And then I do something. There is a situation, or there is an accident, and this little girl got hurt. So she's crying, there's blood, and I come to her and I do my magic. I just close the wound, and the girl is happy, but I feel they are closing on me. It's her, she's the witch, she's the witch. And they capture me and they drag me to some kind of place where they lock me up. And they want to kill me because I'm a witch. And it's lonely there. It's lonely in this place because they all don't understand. They see me as a kind of a monster. They know I'm not. I know that animals know this. Animals all understand me. Why people cannot understand me? Why they're so cruel and mean? So eventually they want to stone me to death. And I die. End of story.
Okay. All right. So I would like to ask your subconscious mind to tell us a similar story, but with a more optimal ending. What could be done differently that would allow this to end perhaps in a way that would favor you better? And so if you are walking on the path and the path is winding and you're talking to the animals, what happens next?
There is a bridge, and I go over the bridge, and there is another place. And in this place, there is a community, and they are very kind people. They want to learn from me. They know I'm different, and they know I have skills, and they want me to live there and teach them how to heal. And I live until old age, and it's a very good life. Okay?
Anything else happening in your story?
No, just this. It's a good life.
Okay, so let's see what this story meant. So you were walking on a path and it was made of ground with rocks and branches. And what does that mean to you? What in your life is like that?
Well, I like to take my own path. I like to discover my path. And I like to learn from nature. So I trust more what I learn from being in nature than from books and knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And there were big trees. And how are the trees?
I think they are teachers.
Mm.
I love learning from people who have deep roots, who reach the sky, who have this deep knowledge, not just something they just discover from books, but this deep knowledge, ancient knowledge.
Okay. And the road was flat but winding.
Yes, I feel that because I like to discover my own path, I often go through some uh, uh, unnecessary, perhaps, loops and turns, and I don't go straight line. I always explore, and sometimes it takes more effort and more time than. And if I just went, straight path.
Right.
Yes.
And then you came to a clearing. And what does that clearing in your life? What is that?
And I think it's times when I can be me, when I can just be be present without trying to do anything, just being.
Mm-hmm.
It's being me in my energy.
Yeah, and you'd said that you were alone and that was good.
Yeah. And then for animals, I understand animals.
Yeah.
Dogs and cats.
Okay, so you talked about the animals and you understand them and you talk to the deer and the bears.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
And I think that with animals, I don't judge them. To me, it's the same. It's a deer or bear. All animals, I understand them. I know a different, and it's okay.
Mm. Okay, and talk to me about talking to them.
It feels like talking with no talking, so I don't actually talk,
Mm-hmm.
but it's energy.
Okay.
I understand them.
Okay.
So it's this feeling of being effortless when I don't need to do anything. It's just very natural. It's effortless.
Excellent. So you came to the village, and what does that represent to
It's people space.
you?
People space which is more chaotic, which is not clear, which is not so comfortable, and where it's this old fear of probably from childhood, being bullied and all of that. When people do not understand me, and then I have to pretend that I'm normal.
Mm-hmm.
One of them.
And so there was that concern that if they found out your true nature,
Yeah.
they might
Yeah,
know
yeah.
you.
Yeah, so this is all the times when there was a concern that
Mhm.
people may not understand it, people not getting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the fear that they would turn on you.
Yes, the fear that if it's something that it's too weird, then they won't like it.
Mm-hmm. And does that happen in this life?
I don't think it's maybe in my childhood, but not now.
Okay.
Like now
Okay.
I don't have it, but it could be passed from my childhood, but not from now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So there was an accident and a dog got hurt, and you did your magic.
Yes.
Okay. And how would you translate that?
Well, I don't know. I typically like to help, but I don't know what it means. I don't know why was it like that?
Well, you stepped up, even like
Yeah.
I'm assuming you overcame your fear and just did what was right, right?
Yeah, it was just from what I needed to do a moment. And I was not so important in this moment. So I thought I have skills, I have knowledge. So I was not thinking of me. I was just saying, oh, I know what to do, I can help. And I stepped out of fear.
Okay. But they close in on you, call you a witch, capture you, and put you in a, I don't know, lock you up.
Yeah.
And they want to kill you. So,
Those cold fears.
mm-hmm.
I don't even know how they got into my body, but it's very, like, I have a lot of it. Like, for the past lives, attempt like this, it's like ongoing theme in my
might need to do the healing in past lives.
We did a lot of it, yes, we did a lot of it. Healing of past lives, yes.
Right, okay.
It's just like, it's ongoing, still deep, yes.
Okay. Would you say that that kind of encapsulates the fear you have when you're talking, like now when you're
I don't know,
talking about
because
yourself?
I am not surrounded by angry villagers. So
Right,
I don't know what it's all about. It's just weird.
But is there a connection? Is there, like, even if it's ancient from other lifetimes, is there a similar feeling when you talk about yourself as these fears and that came up in that story?
It's weird. There is connection, but I don't know why. It's just like
It
why
doesn't
it's
have
like
to make sense.
friendly people around. Oh, understand weird.
We speak weird.
Speak weird, live weird, so it should be not that difficult. Yes. And yet there is some part of me which still which
And so you said the animals know that I'm not a monster.
Yeah.
And
it
why
was like the
people?
animals understand me, why people don't.
Okay.
Animals know why people cannot understand it.
Okay, so then when we went back and asked for a better ending to the story, then you found the bridge.
That
And
was good. It was a bridge, yes, a bridge.
So what is that bridge in this life?
I think the bridge that in the bridge those parts of me, one that knows how to be in my own energy and talk to animals, and another part which knows how to talk to people. And they had to bridge together. They had to somehow be connected.
Okay,
Animals and people, and that's the bridge.
okay. So when you cross the bridge, do you see that connection or do you feel that connection happening?
So there was different community. It was not the same. It's not the same people. So maybe this forming, knowing when I am in this community that I can trust in, when not. Like this forming of who I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps.
Okay. They know that you're different and you have your skills. They want you to teach them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it was like instant connection. I did not have to do anything. I did not have to be anything. They just knew, just like animals. They people who knew how to connect, and they knew how to tell who I am. So community, which just understands me.
So what are you learning by going through these two scenarios and looking at this? What are you learning that would help you or, change the way that you are when you're talking with people about yourself?
I think the bridge is somehow important.
Okay.
So I don't know yet, but I think I will journal on it. Like, what is my bridge?
Okay.
Where is the bridge? Find the bridge.
Okay. So when you were talking about the bridge, you talked about a part of me, and I'm just curious, since you know the techniques, if there's parts therapy. Do we need some parts therapy here? So is there like a divided parts within you?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I would be able to know. I still but they learning to kind of be a team.
Okay. Well, let's just take a moment. And so, how would you describe each of those parts? What are they made up of? What are their parts?
So the part that talks to animals is my spiritual part, which speaks energy, which understands energy, which are comfortable with energy. And the part which is afraid of humans and very cautious is the part that keeps me alive.
No.
Just like that grounded part. This more physical part, which understands, hey, you have a physical body, you're a human being now.
Okay. So if you put each of those parts on either of your hands, you know the routine. Which hand has the spiritual side?
This part.
Okay. And the left has the survival side? Okay.
Survival.
All right. All right. So allowing them to migrate to their appropriate hands and separated so that they in no way intersect. Let's go into the right spiritual side. And if you are coming from this perspective fully, can you describe to me what are your thoughts and feelings about being over here on that spiritual side in relationship to talking about yourself?
So to spirit is easy. When I speak from spirit, she has no problem talking about herself. Hello, human being, you're all beautiful. She's totally confident.
Anything else
And
you
she
want to?
understands that all those are human beings, they're so beautiful, they have spirits and all connected. It's just the joyful part.
Ah. Anything else the right would like to share with us?
Right is just loves being with people and learning about them, and it's just such a joyful and easy part.
Okay. So let's go over to the left hand.
And it's light.
Oh, it's light. Okay.
It's very light. Yes.
Okay. So moving over to the left hand. And left hand, what are your thoughts and feelings about speaking and talking about yourself?
Well, I feel that I need to tell them something that will present me as professional and intelligent, and I feel that maybe I cannot do it, maybe I am unable to do it, so I just don't like speaking.
And what makes you feel like you can't or you're unable?
I feel heavy and kind of has a heaviness, sluggishness, and kind of like it's a feel that it's difficult to do it.
Okay. And are there any emotions in there? Those are all non-emotions.
There's fear.
Fear.
There's fear, yes.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say?
And I always think that if this other part begins to talk, she just so goofy. She is just not serious at all.
Okay.
She is just embarrassing us.
Oh. Anything else?
I just want to be able to present myself in a serious, professional way.
Mm. So coming over to the right side, right hand, how do you want to respond to that?
Oh, come on. Stop being so serious. Life is short. You are in this body just for a very short time. Who cares what degree you have? Let's just be light. Let's just play and be joyful and connect to people. Stop pushing your education forward. You are ridiculous. Let's just be humans while we are together.
Anything else?
I just want to be light.
Okay. So let's come back to the left side. You heard what the right hand said. Left hand, what do you want to say in response?
She does not make any sense. You know how hard I worked for my education, and she does not want to have anything with it. She just, I don't know, she just is so different from me.
Mm-hmm. So left hand, what was the point of the education?
To be educated.
That's
My mother, my father,
Oh, to be like your parents?
very educated, and I had to be like them. I have to have all this knowledge
For what reason?
because it's important to have knowledge and education.
You're not telling me anything. You're not educated in being able to answer this question. What is the point of the education?
To have
What's the why behind the importance of it? Why?
be a scientist, to study, to discover secrets of the universe.
Okay, why?
Because that's what we do. We are scientists.
What do you do with
we
it?
discover, we do experiments, we work in the lab, we
Why?
we have good job.
Mm-hmm. That's
We
how
are
you,
respected.
right? That's how you function, right? You get this education so you can function as a scientist, right?
Yes,
Why? What's
I-
the result of that?
because I wanted to be just like my parents.
Mhm.
And all their friends were so educated, so intelligent.
Okay. Have you achieved that?
I don't think I'm there yet.
Really? Do you have a
No.
degree?
Yes, I have, but I'm still not as educated. I still feel that I'm not at this level.
Hmm.
They all were so intelligent, so educated.
So how are you
I'm
going
not.
to know when you arrive there? Like, what is the marker that's going to tell you you've arrived? You've got a PhD.
I don't know, but I'm
Like,
not
what are you gonna do?
now a scientist. I don't work in labs, so I do not. I need to study this.
So you need to go back and study more.
I need to study and study more.
Study
Yes,
what?
I'm still not educated enough.
Okay. So let's go back to the right side. And right hand, how do you want to respond to that? Do you know the why?
I was listening to this, and it made no sense to me at all. She did not say anything.
I know.
It were just words.
Mm-hmm.
I do not get it at all.
So when do you think you'll have enough education?
No, she will never have enough education.
Okay.
She will always be like this child, reaching for mom and dad, who will always be like those giants in her mind. And she will study and study and study and always feels that she does not know enough instead of just enjoying life now. This is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think you could say to the left hand to convince?
Lighten up,
Uh-huh.
lighten up. It's time.
Okay. Left hand, what do you think?
I want to be lighter, but I don't know how.
Okay. Right hand, what could you say to instruct the left hand?
The only thing you need to educate yourself is to who you truly are. That's all. This is your new degree.
And left hand, what do you think?
I never thought about it. I would like to. know better who I am.
Maybe that's the next scientific frontier, huh?
I like it.
Okay. So, left hand, what would you be willing to do?
We are going to continue talking. She is holding into her past identity, but it's not who she truly is. So we are going to work together at helping her discover her own light and be comfortable when she speak from this place.
Okay. Right hand, how do you feel about that?
Yes, we like this. We like this thought that we can have a new degree. We can
Hmm.
have a new path of study.
And so, would you say that the right and left hands are in agreement now?
Yes, they are.
And what do they agree to?
They agree that they are going to work together at learning who one is truly and to have a new degree in learning how to be on, how to be not divided between being a spirit and talking as spirit or talking as a just being human.
No.
How to do both of them together.
Ah. Okay, and they both agree to this?
Yes,
Okay.
I agree.
So bring those two hands together as they integrate into one, and then integrate that new level of being into your body, into your heart, into your mind, and your spirit. And how does that feel?
Feels good.
Is there another word for good?
It
Good is so. What other than good?
feels light.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else we need to do around this issue today?
No, I think not. I think today is good and I will continue as days ahead.
Mhm.
My unconscious is going to continue integrating this knowledge.
Excellent. So remembering all that you've experienced in this session, allowing the subconscious mind to continue to bring you insight, wisdom, and understanding in the days and the weeks to come, as I count from 1 to 5, returning here to the present moment, refreshed, alert, and aware. 1, 2, 3, coming up. 4, aware of this time and space. And 5, fully alert and aware, and return here to the present moment.
Hello, people!
The new, brilliantly light Anna.
Looks and lighter.
Does it look? Yeah.
Everything that looks lighter. It's interesting.
Awesome.
Like it's kind of like you're all like more in focus.
Wow. Excellent.
Yeah.
Does anybody have questions for Anna or for me on any of this?
It was amazing to witness.
And did you see how the reverse metaphor just showed us that we needed to do parts? You know, she just led us right into it. And so I'm glad that we had the time to just finish up that piece of it too, so we could get to a real resolution rather than the concept of a resolution, which the reverse metaphor would have been more of the concept, okay, this is what I need to do, but then, you know, going right into the parts so that we could actually do it and complete. Yeah.
It was interesting because when asked me to create a new story, I was first I have no idea. Like I was like, I don't know. That's my first thing. And then no, I a bridge. So it kind of started. It was like I was like, I need to create a new story. I don't know. And oh, a bridge. Okay, let's go and see. It was total unconscious creation.
Good, and that's a
Yeah.
good
It
sign
was
because
not
it's being
me
delivered to her.
trying to come up with a story because I could not do it, but unconscious did it. So I said,
Mhm.
oh,
Showed
go
it to
there.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very, very interesting that also, oh, there's two parts. One part always goes to this terrible story, and another knows that there's another option. So, hey,
Mhm.
let's bring them together. So it was very, very interesting.
Cool. Jim, did you have a question?
Two things. I wanted to applaud you, Anna, for your bravery, because I know you're very educated, very intelligent, and to be able to go over to what I call the woo, because I'm sort of drawn to the woo, but I'm like, no way, because I want to be taken seriously. And so I know you're struggling with it, but I had no idea. I think you're so brave out there, with your PhD talking about the woo-woo stuff. But I'm like, oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always try to bring science into it. Say, hey, there's science behind it. So I can always kind of try to hide behind science.
But that's helpful also to the woo side because then there's scientific foundations
Yeah.
for that.
Credibility.
Yeah.
I always try to bring some of my education into the woo stuff. That's
Absolutely.
question to you, because I was not sure. Was it justice stuff or past life?
That's my question.
I
Oh,
was
that's-
not
yeah.
sure because it felt more like past life to
Okay.
me. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It works.
Yeah.
What I was going
You
to
know?
say,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But once we got into the the dark part of that where they wanted to stone her and kill her, then I was thinking she's probably drawing on past lives. And I know you wrote the witches book,
Yeah.
and I thought, okay, we're dredging up a lot of unconscious material here. So, but it doesn't really matter, even if that part is symbolic of several lifetimes. We're not really exploring it as a past life. But to me, if you were my client and we were going to have a lot of sessions, I would definitely go into some past lives, do some healing and
Yes,
resolution
if we have time,
there.
then we can
Right.
do more.
But it worked. Yeah.
It's spiritual wisdom that has
Yeah.
come up for you, and that's what's important, that your subconscious acknowledges the spiritual wisdom, because
Yes.
that's very much a part of your soul's journey.
And I also thought that for clients who are too academical, too analytical, approaching it like this, tell me a story. Maybe easier than they're going to past life because they may become analytical, oh, it's impossible or something, but you read them into a story and unconscious creates it, and if they go to past life, it's just like, it's up to them
Right.
how they interpret it.
Yeah.
So it's a good, gentle
Right.
intro
Non-threatening.
to woo, because I just want to say to you, when I just started recording all this NLP, hypnosis, I don't know why, but I decided to take very free class, and I was just like sitting and thinking, I'm in a
This
wrong
woman is
room.
crazy.
I'm in a wrong room because I don't believe in any of this, and she is so confident talking about them. So, but once we started doing it, Then, oh, there is something there, because when you do it, it just opens the gate into a totally new place. And it's so interesting that you just want to explore more and more.
That's funny that you say that, because I taught a class up in Vancouver to one of the associations up there. And at the end, one of the ladies said, well, you just act like you know what you're talking about. It's like, isn't that why you asked me to come? I was teaching past lives, which I've been doing for 30-some years. It's like, you wanted me to present as though I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yes.
I love the animal aspect
Oh.
because it's unconditional
Mm-hmm.
and to feel safe with the animals. And my thought was, when you're speaking, everybody in the audience is an animal.
Right.
That's smart.
Takes the
A
pressure
little
off.
bit more critical animals sometimes. Yeah, it's moving into the woo-woo, moving into the spiritual community is difficult. Before I lived in Washington, I lived in Ohio and many other places, but I was doing all this spiritual stuff, and I learned that, oh, you have to go. Okay. I learned that Ohio is part of the Bible Belt.
Oh, yes.
And
yeah.
we were picketed, it was violent, they tried to run us out of town.
Yeah.
You see?
All of this. No, I've had it in this lifetime.
Yes.
And, but then I moved here, and it's so easy
different.
here.
I came from
It's-
Massachusetts 4 years ago, and I lived right next to Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
We all know what happened in Salem.
Yeah.
So
I've
for
been
me
there, yeah.
to go from there to here and finally present to the world that, yes, I'm woo-woo, but
Yeah.
to me it's who I
It's
am.
easier.
And universal wisdom is smarter than all the education you could possibly have. And so to acknowledge who you are is a really big step.
Mhm.
Because
And
unless
to
we
be able
acknowledge
to
ourselves, who's
freely
going to
share, share your wisdom and
share the wisdom?
and share who you
Yeah.
are. So,
Yeah.
So it's
Thank
safe for
you.
me.
It
Thank
was
you.
wonderful. It was so good to experience it.
Oh, good. We
love
can't
those
wait to
journeys.
see you blossom and
Yes,
emerge as the true Anna coming
And
out.
especially since
Look out,
I'm
world.
going to the conference. Who else is going?
Oh, the
Vegas.
conference?
Vegas. You?
Oh.
Yeah.
We are going to enjoy it together.
Anyway, any other questions for me? I'll turn it back over to Jody. So, nope. Thank you for allowing me to be here and share my wisdom with you.
Let me say something really quick. That book right there, Mastering Hypnotherapy,
Yes.
it's a must read. It has so much in it. It's unbelievable how
Yeah.
much information is in
It's
there.
a great
NLP,
book.
hypnosis, I mean,
Yes,
so many
so
different
much.
concepts.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
You did a wonderful review on Amazon. I appreciate that.
Yes, so we can pass that around if anyone wants to check it
And
out.
does anybody want to look at it? I have copies. I think most everybody has it. So.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's on my shelf
Yeah,
already.
it's on our shelves. Well, thank you so much, Mary Lee, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, live and on Zoom. And I would say check out the meetup page. Like Jim said, we have Facebook, we have our website, we have our YouTube, and we have our meetup. Make sure to keep an eye on that. We are finalizing details for next month's meeting, and our conference is going on. So there's people who are traveling for some conferences. We also have the National Guild National Conference coming up. And so keep an eye, like I said, out for next month. We typically do meet on the second Saturday of each month from 10 to noon, and we hope you will come back and join us. Thanks so much, everyone.
And the training.
Oh, and please, Mary Lee, go ahead and announce come back up here and announce your training. Because she has an upcoming training she wanted to
Yeah,
tell
I have a
everyone about.
training, way back
There
here
you
now. I don't know if they can hear that far away.
I have original sound on. They should be okay.
Oh, okay. I got to be back here. Yeah, so I have a training in hypnotherapy and past life regression that several of the people here have taken. And it's all on Zoom, so people from all over the world come to the class. And then we have, well, first of all, it's on Teachable. So you can study at your own pace, so you can learn all the techniques from me and all of that at your own pace online. And then, in addition to that, we have 20 hours of live training that I come on and we do it as a group on Zoom, and we discuss cases, and I do demos of all the techniques, and you come with all your questions. And once you're in that system, you have access to the course for as long as I live, which is getting shorter and shorter, but I've still got a few good years left. And as long as I'm getting the training, you can come back and do the calls. So it's not like, well, you get your certificate, good luck, right? As many of the students know, you can call me, you can email me, you can come back and take the calls over and over and over again. And people that have come, well, Jody's done it, where you come back 2 or 3 times and you're learning something new every time, and the way it's presented or the questions that are coming up with the students and everything. So that the call, you can start the course anytime. The next round of calls will start October 8th, and they go from 6 to 8 o'clock in the evening. We have Australian hours now. We've got students from Australia that are interested, so I went from morning, now we're doing it in the evening, and it'll be their morning the next day. So it'll be interesting. I've had students from South Africa, Belgium, Germany, all across Canada, the US, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Bahamas, from all over the place. So we're hoping some Australian students come this time. So anyway, if you're interested in getting trained with me, go to my website or give me a call.
Yep, and the link was in the meetup. It's on the newsletter, if you get the newsletter, and it will also be in the YouTube description. So you can definitely contact Mary Lee directly or go to any of those places to find the link to her website. So, all right, thanks so much.
And I also want to show you all my
Yes.
my